everybody, so we're going to continue with the study of the argumentative/persuasive essay. And rather than use samples and hypotheticals and examples of text, you know what I did? I just went ahead and in Schoology I put a PDF file of all the text that we're going to be working with for the essay that we're going to write. So like when we did the text analysis, we studied St. Lucy's. And then I showed you how to do a text analysis with St. Lucy's, but then you did your own text analysis with Swamp Monsters Make Bad Housewives. I think that was a good plan for that. But this one, we're just going to be working with the actual text that you're going to be using for the writing of the actual essay. And we're doing this partly because hey, December is going to be gone before you know it. So we gotta keep moving here because we gotta get this thing done before we're out of here for winter break. So take a look at the PDF file. I think I called it, does the internet have a negative impact on thinking? That's essentially the prompt as well. So take a look at the first page of that, the directions themselves, which looks like this. It says part 2. Let's take a look at that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the directions, and the state has found a way to just make this sound so much more difficult and complicated than need be. Way to go, New York State. Thank you so much for that. So what I'll do is I'll go through these directions and I will translate into regular human speak what it is they're looking for. All right, so at the top it says directions. Closely read each of the 4 texts provided on pages 13 through 20 and read a source-based argument on the topic below. What's a source-based argument? All that means is that if you have outside information, prior knowledge, any of that kind of stuff about the topic that they want you to write about, the state doesn't really care. They don't really want you to bring it in. What we want to see you do in this essay is take information from a multitude of different sources and then weave them into one essay. So if you know a lot about this topic, that's great. It's very nice. There will be an opportunity to maybe use some of that in like the intro, but the meat of this has to come from the text provided. And then it says you may use the margins to take notes as you read, scrap paper to plan your response, and blah, blah, blah. It mentions something about an essay booklet. You do not have an essay booklet, so don't worry about that. Then it says, topic. Does the internet have a negative impact on our thinking process? And that is what we're going to be focusing on for the essay. Then it says, your task. Carefully read each of the 4 texts provided. Then, using evidence from at least 3 of the texts, write a well-developed argument regarding whether or not the internet has a negative impact on our thinking process. Did you notice how they wrote the words 4 and 3? See how they're all bolded and fancified? You know why? That's right, because it's important. All right, this is how important it is. The state is going to give you 4 texts, and they say you have to use at least 3. They're so serious about this that if this was the actual state exam and you wrote an essay about this topic that was so great, it could change the very fabric of society. If you only use 2 texts and not 3, you can only get half credit. That's their rule. It's not mine, it's theirs. I didn't design this stuff. All I can do is show you how to play the game to win. So make sure you use at least 3 texts. Can you use all 4? You absolutely can. You're not required to use all 4, but you are welcome to use all 4. You have to use at least 3. And then it says, clearly establish your claim, distinguish your claim from alternate or opposing claims, and use specific, relevant, and sufficient evidence from at least 3 of the texts provided to develop your argument. Do not simply summarize each text. That last line is very important. I've seen some people try to get through the exam by just like writing little summaries of each article that they're given. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Now, some of the other things that they just covered in those sentences I just read, they kind of cover again in the guidelines. So let's take a look at the guidelines. It says to be sure to establish your claim regarding whether or not the internet has a negative impact on our thinking process. There's an important detail in this, okay? You have to say whether or not the internet is having a negative impact on our thinking process. In other words, you have to pick a side. Your job in this essay is to show that, yup, the internet is making us stupid, or the internet is not negatively impacting our thinking process. What you cannot do is give a fair and balanced, well, here's what the one side says, and here's what the other side says. You go ahead and make up your mind. That's not what we want. Nope, we want you to pick a side. What if you don't really care about either side? Well, then you fake it. You got to pick anyway. In fact, my personal opinion is wait until we get through all the texts and see which seems to be the easier one to write, and then go with that side. Next up, it says distinguish your claim from alternate or opposing claims, and all we're talking about there is making sure we have a counterclaim and a rebuttal, and we're going to get that we'll get to that soon in an upcoming episode. Next, another reminder that you have to use 3 of the 4 texts. Once again, 3 of the 4 texts. You're going to get sick of me saying that, I promise. Next up, it says identify each source that you reference by text number and line number or graphic. All we're talking about there is citations, and we'll get to that in a future episode too. Organize your ideas in a cohesive and coherent manner, and you'll be able to do that by following the outline that I'm going to give you. Maintain a formal style of writing as opposed to casual. You cannot use emojis in an essay. And follow the conventions of standard written English as opposed to casual English or any other language on this planet or another. All right, stick it with the English language, the formal side of it, and you'll be good to go. And that's really all the directions are saying. I don't know why they make it sound so complicated. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start checking out the different texts they gave us. I thought we would go in order. First we'll read text 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. We're certainly not going to get to all of them today, but we will get to the first one today, so why don't we do that? So next page in your PDF file will take you to text 1, and the title of the article is Okay Google, Where Did I Put My Thinking Cap? All right, so follow along as I read, please. Take a look at this question. How do modern novels represent the characteristics of humanity? If you were tasked with answering it, what would your first step be? Would you scribble down your thoughts, or would you Google it? Terry Hike, a former English teacher in Kentucky, had a surprising revelation when his 8th and 9th grade students quickly turned to Google. What they would do is they would start Googling the question, how does a novel represent humanity, Hike says. That was a real eye-opener to me. Hike had intended for his students to take a moment to think, figure out what type of information they needed, how to evaluate the data, and how to reconcile conflicting viewpoints. He did not intend for them to immediately Google the question word by word, eliminating the process of critical thinking. More space to think or less time to think? There is a relative lack of research available examining the effect of search engines on our brains, even as the technology is rapidly dominating our lives. Of the studies available, the answers are sometimes unclear. Some argue that with easy access to information, we have more space in our brain to engage in creative activities, as humans have in the past. Daphne Bavelier, a professor at the University of Geneva, wrote in 2011 that we may have lost the ability for oral memorization valued by the Greeks when writing was invented, but we gained additional skills of reading and text analysis. Writer Nicholas Carr contends the internet will take away our ability for contemplation due to the plasticity of our brains. He wrote about the subject in a 2008 article for The Atlantic titled, "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" What the internet seems to be doing is chipping away my capacity for concentration and contemplation, Carr wrote. I'm always on my computer. Michelle Nelson, an art teacher at Estes Hills Elementary School in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, seems to share Carr's concerns. Nelson, who has been teaching for more than 9 years, says it was obvious with her middle school students and even her 15-year-old daughter. They're just unable to read long texts anymore. They just had a really hard time comprehending if they went to a website that had a lot of information, Nelson says. They couldn't grasp it. They couldn't figure out what the important thing was. The bright side lies in a 2009 study conducted by Gary Small, the director of University of California, Los Angeles' Longevity Center, that explored brain activity when older adults used search engines. He found that among older people who have experience using the internet, their brains are 2 times more active than those who don't when conducting internet searches. For Small, the problem for younger people is the overuse of the technology that leads to distraction. Otherwise, he is excited for the new innovations in technology. We tend to be economical in terms of how we use our brain. So if you know you don't have to memorize the directions to a certain place because you have a GPS in your car, you're not going to bother with that, Small says. You're going to use your mind to remember other kinds of information. And that's it for text 1. So again, at this point, you should not decide which stance you're going to take, whether you're going to go with, yup, the internet's making us stupid, or you're going to go with, like, nope, the internet is not making us stupid. Hold off on making that decision until we get to all 4 of the texts. But since we have finished reading the first one, hey, why don't we go check out that celebration of knowledge if you haven't already done so. I have a couple questions about the directions that we went over today, and I have some questions about specific parts of text 1. Now, I'm just going to be using line numbers. I didn't grab the full quotes. So it's important for you to go into the actual text, look up the line numbers, and see which lines I'm talking about. No one expects you to memorize these texts and their line numbers. They're always going to be there for you to reference. So on the questions that ask about particular lines, reread those lines. All right, my guess is that's all you're going to need me for in terms of today. So get to that celebration of knowledge. Can't wait to give you some more points. And we'll check out more texts tomorrow. See you soon.